and various national federations on 28th and 29th March, just a few days ago. The demands that was put forward by Singaravela in 1923 and the demands that Indian working class, whether in the organized sector, unorganized sector, or the gig sector, or the cooperative sector, or any other informal group of workers, these are the demands. Even the peasantry, the land rights, even tribal people, various others, their right to homesteads. These are all the issues I don't want to go into. And our students are raising the right to have education. Universal suffrage, yes, we say now it is not even 20 to 21 years, it is 18 years. But what is happening on the election, how that has been changed, I don't want to go into, I don't want to cross the limits. And so, even now, right to form a union, it is the situation. Those who are in this, in Maharashtra and other areas, or in Delhi, or in any industrial center, is it guaranteed? Yes, the Trade Union Act is 1926, 21 years before independence. But even now, the right to form an organization of their own is being denied. Very few are unionized. Systematic attack on the trade union rights are going on wherever the trade unions are existing. Collective bargaining is almost finished. And right to strike, given on this 28th and 29th. Yes, again, I am referring to Dr. Satyaki only. How the judges of Kerala High Court told the government employees that you have no right to strike. Even the Supreme Court has earlier said that. Even the Bharat Petroleum workers, they were told by the court, don't go on strike. And the industrial estate workers, they were told, you can't go on strike. But it is to the credit of the workers and employees in those areas where the High Court of a state had intervened to say that you don't have the right to go on strike. Though the right to go on strike and collective bargaining is part of the statutorily guaranteed situation as of today. Tomorrow what will happen is different. When then this was denied. And the workers went on strike. More workers participating on the 29th, the second day of the 48 hours strike. All these are known. And so the situation, the charter demands that I told you on today is for the 28th and 29th strike. If you go into the charter of demands presented by the central trade unions and national federations, it is not on the economic, mainly on the economic demands. Only you will see the minimum wages issue being raised, which was raised by Singaravela, saying that 350 pounds of rice or wheat, whatever is the traditional food, per month should be given to a worker, and 10 pairs of dhotis, only dhotis in that. And you all know the 15th Indian Labour Conference in 1957, the 15th Indian Labour Conference in 1957. That is the 10th year, which means the Indian Labour Conference was a tradition created even before independence. And what is the fate of it today? I will come to it later. We had an agreed formula, and it still remains as a formula not to be implemented. So all the demands that the trade union movement is forced to raise today, whether it is part of the Indian statutes or it's part of the conventions of the International Labour Organization. Many of you students of this, maybe you are reading about the International Labour Organization, which was founded in 1919. And India is one of the founding members. And India is one country, a colonial country. Though we were subjugated by the British at that time, we continue to be the founding members and a permanent member of the governing body of ILO. But many of the important conventions on the right to strike, on the right to collective bargaining, the convention number 86, the convention number 91, still it is there in the Charter of Demands. Ratify the conventions 86 and 91 is one of the demands of the Indian Trade Union. Shingaravela demanded right to form a union and right to collective bargaining and right to go on strike. It is still the demands, and all those demands, whether it is of insurance, whether it is of provident fund, whether it is of maternity benefit, whether it is of free medical treatment, all these continues to be in the chart of demands of the Indian working class. Yes, even today, the organized working class in this country, all of you very well know that it is less than 10%. And where actually the labor laws are applicable. But what is the situation? The law remains on paper. When the constitutional rights in the country remain in paper, as a worker, I cannot complain or that I have not been given the rights that are guaranteed in the labor statutes of the country. That is the situation. And so, what we, the working people today, are demanding is that we should be able to present these demands, mobilize the Indian working people. I don't want to go into the various situations that are existing today. The 10% organized sector and the largest section of the workers in the manufacturing sector itself, whether it is an Indian corporate establishment or a multinational corporation, the situation remains same. 65 to 70% or one sometimes more than that of the workers in any factory now are not regular workers. Various names are given. It may be a fixed time appointment, or it may be a trainee, it may be an apprentice, it may be a job that has been outsourced, various names. I still remember a day when the General Secretary of CITU and myself, when I was president, now I am Vice President of CITU, we were in a discussion in the Labour Department. Comrade Tapansen, who was also an MP at that time, he asked the Labour Minister of that few years during this NDA government, can you say that the rights of the workers in the Shram Shakti Bhavan in Delhi, housing the Labour Department of the Government of India, the wages of the outsourced workers, hundreds of them working in this department under this building, Shram Shakti Bhavan building, are they given the notified minimum wages, was the question raised. There was no answer. So it is the situation. Minimum, whether it is minimum wages, whether it is social security, whether it is working hours, whether it is trade union rights, whether it is collective bargaining, all the issues related to a workers contract with the employees, whatever issues are involved in that, on all these things, whatever we have gained during the 100 years of the Indian trade union movement is now being denied or being taken away. And the latest attack on that is in the form of 4 labor codes. Even 2 or 3 days ago, our central labor minister declared that yes, we are waiting for a few states which are not ready, and it will be implemented as soon as possible. Yes, the government wants to do it because it is aimed at ease of doing business. We would request the students of this. Dr. Satyaki, I know, is very well aware of the contents of the labor code, and many details have been exposed and written, how it takes away all the existing rights of the working people. Nobody denies that the Indian labor legislations need changes or amendments, but the way it has been done at the behest of the Indian corporates and multinational companies, is to take away all the hard-earned existing benefits of the Indian working people. Whether they are in the organized sector, whether they are in the informal sector, because even in informal sector, even in industry like BD workers, on record the statutes are there. It's product of the huge struggles, big struggles, massive struggles, sacrifices. But what is happening today? What is the working condition? The condition of the Indian working people today. That is the one part of the question, the subject that is that I have been asked to talk about. This is what is the situation. You go into any aspect of the worker's life or his working condition. Every aspect is under attack. And once these four labor codes are implemented, actually, tripartism has dead. I was talking about ILO. ILO talks about tripartism. And I told you about the Indian Labour Conference, 15th Indian Labour Conference, where the minimum wages, the theory behind it or the formula behind it was unanimously approved. And from 1957 onwards, so many strikes, struggles by government employees, various others, the demand is implement the 1957 and the related judgment of the Supreme Court in the Raptagos bread case. I'm not going into the details. So this is the tripartite Indian Labour Conference after 2014. It has met only once, 2015. And even in that meeting, our present Prime Minister, while addressing the Indian Labour Conference, talked about only Inspector Raj. And what is happening today? How thousands of workers are losing their lives in the factory accidents? Is there any enforcement being existing or working in any of the states now? Almost nil. Whether it is factory legislation, whether it is in the boilers, whether it is in the chemical industries, whether it is on social security, ESI or PF, there is no inspection. Inspections have been banned, and the media and all others have been on attack, calling it as Inspector Raj. And there may be some one or two people everywhere, in every sector, in every field, in every activity. But what is happening today is no statute is being implemented, no enforcement being is in place, and all the rights, I don't want to repeat, all the rights of the workers are under attack. It is in such a situation. The contractualization, casualization, the gig workers, or the artificial intelligence being used, as Dr. Satyaki said, to increase the exploitation in various ways. And occupational safety and other related matters, what is happening, I have already told you. And so it is against this that we have been on struggle. That will be the last point in the first part of the subject. From 1991 onwards, workers have always said, there are the public sector workers or highly earning workers or the government employees, teachers, why should they struggle? They are getting high wages and a huge part of the income is being spent on that. Day out, this campaign is going. But what is the reality is the question. And that is why yes, workers have been going on struggle from, I told you, every one of us know, even before independence. But in an organized way from 1991 onwards, on the policy issue, the workers have been going on strike. 26th November 1991 onwards, or 21 times, whether it is a one-day strike or 3 times 2-day strike, country-wide strike by all sections. Not all the central trade unions have been participating in that. There was a change only from 2019 to 2009 to 2014. Only that period, all the 11 central trade unions in the country, recognized by the government of India on the basis of their membership and the spirit of the union, they were all together on one single platform. 1991, when we started fighting against the neoliberal policies and attack on the trade unions and the working people, taking away the rights of the workers, loot of the national assets. On all that, the struggle started. At that time, it was limited to a few of the trade unions and few of the federations. From 2009 to 2014, all the central trade unions was together on a platform, all on the basis of a agreed charter of demands. But in 2014, Bharatiya Mazdoor Sangh BMS, which is run by the RSS, everyone knows that, and they are also proud to declare that, they withdrew because a new government has come. They said we can settle all the issues through discussion. And after that, minus BMS, all the central trade unions and almost all the national federations of the government employees, telecom employees, defense employees, etc., or they are all. And so it is in such a situation that what is the present condition? Present condition is, in a one way, saying that it is a worse situation than the 40s and 50s. Yes, the wages of certain sections of workers would have increased. But if you calculate it related to the inflation in the country, almost, yes, even in the developed world, many of the governments are, everybody, or Dr. Satyaki or any other researchers, they have been telling about what is the real value of the wages and how the real wages have been going down in different countries, including United States of America and UK and all other developed world. And India also, that is the same situation. So it is in such a situation that the wages are reduced, the real wages are going down, the social security and other working conditions are changing. With all these, the working people of the country are facing a very, very critical situation. And then the next part, as far as I don't think it is necessary for me, what is the situation today or the future? That is the question raised. Yes, with my experience of being a part of the trade union movement, actually it is 59 years of my life as a worker. At the age of 16, I entered a factory. It is not a time to go into that. But I entered into the factory as an apprentice under the Apprentices Act of 1961. That was in 1963. And from 63 onwards, and from 1970 onwards, I am part of Center of Indian Trade Unions. And with this experience, in one word, if you talk about the future of the Indian working class, I can very confidently say that I am hopeful of further positive changes in favor of the working class. And the days are not very, very, very far off when the things will change from what is today. Yes, we will have to meet a lot of challenges, a lot of operations, suppressions, and various other situations. Because overall, there is a very serious attack on the democratic rights, right to mobilize, right to unionize. The democratic rights and trade union rights and the constitutional rights are under attack is well known to you. Black laws are already there. When we have seen in Uttar Pradesh, we have seen in Haryana in the recent period how ASMA was being used against the scheme workers. About 1/3 of them, those who are not considered to be workers, the government shamelessly declares that those who are Anganwadi workers, those who are Asha workers, those who are midday meal workers, those who are working in the education department, those who are working in the agricultural department, those who are working in they are on mission. And they are volunteers. The historic struggles in various states that are going on by our sisters, you would have seen, many of you are aware. And all the workers all over the country are enthused the way. And sometimes the courts also. Very recently, the Supreme Court said they have a right, the Anganwadi workers have a right for a gratuity. And if you have a right for a gratuity, they should be treated as workers. And Supreme Court indirectly said they are workers. And this has been the point of dispute. And this was denied by the government for a very, very, very long. From the day one, of the ICDS scheme came into force. And so this being the situation, and for future, yes, unemployment. I don't want to go into details. Day before yesterday, the Tamil Nadu Public Service Commission just gave a note, trust it, saying that there was a vacancy for Group 4 workers, 7,301 workers. The vacancies are there. They have declared vacancies. Many of the vacancies are not being filled up. You would have seen lately by the Railway Board saying that many thousands and thousands of jobs have to be surrendered to the Railway Board. I'm not going into those details. But just one example. Many of you know much more than this. For the 7,301 posts in Group 4 in Tamil Nadu, 21 lakhs 85,328 men and women had applied. This is the situation. And with unemployment increasing, what will be its reaction on the wages and other benefits of the workers, those who are already on job? Well, and with the crisis that is deepening, today the Reserve Bank of India's statement you would have seen, students would have noted, or please go into that. It will take 12 more years at least to compensate for the 3-year loss of the pandemic period. And just add to that, when the pandemic situation developed, what was the vice chairman, now former vice chairman, he has just left or just leaving now, said it is a golden opportunity. He dared to say that in black and white, put it in black and white, dared to say that it is a golden opportunity because working people will not be able to come to the streets. But we retaliated during this period. We went on strike on 26 November, and various other workers went on strike, protested against the attacks. That is one part. And so all that gives you the confidence that the Indian working people and the future of the workers will be safe. Yes, there are challenges. CITU was born with the slogan unity and struggle. The unity of the working class and the struggle to safeguard this unity and move forward. But today the situation is much more. And the attack on the unity or the unity of the Indian people. Just now, what happened in Jahangir Puri and the necessity of giving some relief to those people were just announced here by our friend Prahlad. So what is the situation today? I need not explain. Even the impact that I would recognize, the danger is understood by the Indian trade union movement. Even among the workers, the impact of the communal hatred that is being spread is there. And we had an earlier occasion, 31st October 1984. Indira Gandhi was shot dead. At that time, how in the working class centers, how the workers could be mobilized to go against the sick workers who were working together. And now the impact, the organized communal frenzy that is being created, and the hate mongers who are active, even among the workers and employees. That is the danger, that is one danger that the Indian working class have to face. And so there is a very serious situation. The economic, social, cultural issues are there. These communal issues are there. Social oppression is a major issue. The Dalits, the tribals, the women workers, I don't want to go into details. These are all the challenges. And add to that the policy issues, the pro-corporate policies, the privatization, national monetization pipeline, the land monetization, all that is happening. And the latest is IPO on 4th, only 3 days left of LIC. Other than that, the government wants money for their expenses. Is there any justification for the efforts of privatization in LIC? For the efforts of corporatization and privatization in the defense production? Now the stories are that the moment the corporatization started, some of the units of the ordnance factories in the country have started showing profits. What sorts of a nonsense it can be, it can be easily understood. And all that, in addition to all this, is the hold of the corporate media, which I am sure the students of this fully understands. The way the corporates and their hold, and it's almost a very few handful of people. Now the worldwide discussion is about what is happening in Twitter, how it is being taken over by Elon Musk and all that. I do. But what has already happened in India? How the government is able to control the media, and media has started doing subservience to the. They have been doing that. But today the situation is much more than that. And so it is in such a situation. The Indian working class in the coming days, before I conclude, I will only say that yes, these challenges can be met. And that is why, as a trade union, the Center of Indian Trade Union, CITU, which believes in intensification of the class struggle, we have given a call to our workers, not only to our members, beyond that to all the Indian workers and working people, not only workers, the peasantry, the small traders, all those who are affected by the anti-people policies of the present day government. We have to reach out to them. The slogan we have given is reach the unreached and intensify the class struggle. And the reach and unreached for us have three phases. Reach our own members, reach the members of other trade unions, and reach all the workers, majority of them who are not unionized. And so, and to them, take these policy issues. We have been fighting against the impacts of the policy for a very long time. And during the last almost 3 decades, a new beginning could be made of fighting against the policies. But still, there is a long way to go, miles to go. So the miles to go has to be understood. And here, the policies and its linkage to the issues that we are facing. Our issues to the policies and policies to the class, politics of the ruling class. This linkage has to be understood and taken to the whole working people. And we have to rouse the class instinct of the working people in the country, mobilizing lakhs and lakhs on the streets, workers, peasants, students, youth, and various other sections. Intensify that struggle. There is no alternative to that. And the future is in that. And on that future, as I am very much sure, very recently, and I don't know, it was actually last year during May Day, during the pandemic period, I was going into the literature connected with the May Day. And before I conclude, I will just quote those few lines which Eleanor Mars on 4th May 1890 in Hyde Park is a very brief speech concluded by saying, rise like the lions after slumber. Rise like lions after slumber. In unvanquishable numbers. In unvanquishable numbers. Shake your chain to earth like dew which in sleep had fallen on you. Like the dew which in sleep had fallen on you. You are many, they are few. Yes, we are many and they are few, and we shall overcome. Thank you.
Uh, Thank you, comrade.
Thanks, Comrade Padmanabhan, for this very enlightening and inspiring lecture, made a lecture which not only talks about the the historical role of the Indian working class, which usually is not discussed in May Day discussions that we came to know, that how these issues, which are not only related to only workers of the factories, but basically the working class from the beginning, tried to raise the issues of the working people of our country. So it encompassed several aspects of our life, which included the rights of workers, but also of women, of related to education and other things, were also raised by the Indian working class from the beginning. And this also laid down the lecture also graphically expresses and explains the different ways of violation of trade union rights, which are rights established in the constitution, but that is being violated. And we never come across someone who is being put behind bars because he might be an employer who has not paid the minimum wage to a worker. So we never see like this that something is happening. Even if so violation for the workers' rights has been normalized as if it has a social sanction, it has a legal sanction. And so, by that process, as you have explained, that even in the organized sector, there has been a sharp decline in the share of wages in value added. So, I'm talking about the organized manufacturing sector, leave aside the informal sector. So, even in the organized segment, there was a huge and there was a steep fall of the workers' shares in value added. So, as you have said, that not only the workers in the organized sectors, in different segments, in different ways, it had been a severe hit. But at the same time, as your lecture underlines the fact, with your great conviction and your lifelong experience being in trade union organizing workers from, one can say, from childhood, as you said, that you joined the factory at the age of 16. So, therefrom comes the conviction that you still hope that the workers would fight back. And I would also say that sometimes we believe that it is as if capital desires and worker disposes. But that had never been the story of history over the past 100 years. It is basically a struggle between the workers and the capitalists that have written the history. So capital is not the sole author of history. Actually, the conflict has actually wrote the history of working class and the history of humankind over the past centuries. So you basically raised that point and reiterated that hope that people are coming out in the streets. They're starting huge strike have happened in the recent period in India. So that gives hope to the workers that they will fight back. And I would end by saying that it also gives a certain kind of synergy happening among different parts of the working class, in the sense that it is now not, the struggle is not being limited within the fact boundaries of the factory work. Because as you said, when we're talking about ASHA workers and other workers, so the crisis is also manifested not only limited in the realm of production, but also in the realm of reproduction. So what is happening? Issues related to education, related to health, related to other issues, which are which are related to the life of the worker and the working people, that are coming together, and that are also joining the struggle with the workers who are directly linked with the process of production. So what I am saying, that the unemployed people, the workers in the organized sector, the workers in informal sector, the workers who are involved in the realm of health and education and the realm of reproduction, there also we find that there would be an objective situation being created when all working people would have to come together to fight this pain. And this onslaught of neoliberalism had to be fought back for to make another world possible. And you people like you who are working throughout their life, they are playing a very important role, which inspires all of us that as a different kind of alternative would be possible in the future. So here I stop and hand over to the organizers for the questions
Thank
and
you.
answers.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, comrade. Thank you, Dr. Satyaki Roy. I would like to invite Bhavya Sudhir to handle the question answer session. Bhavya, over to you.
So, before moving to the question and answer sessions, I would like to extend our appreciation to the panel for comprehensively covering the mandate of the topic. The lecture was not only rooted in the historical struggles of the working class, but also in the contemporary challenges that the working class movement is facing today. I would like to move on to the questions that we have received on our Facebook Live. The questions will be showcased on the screen, and I'm going to moderate and read them out to the panel. Thank you. Can we have the questions on the screen? Okay. So the first question is from Shreya. Shreya asks, could you elaborate a little on the uprooting consequences of the eviction on the working classes in view of the recent demolition at Jahangirpuri?
Surely the impact will be, I think it is a well-known fact. Mainly, as far as I have understood, Jahangir Puri is the area where the informal workers are staying. And naturally, their livelihood depends upon their day-to-day work. And the impact on the demolition, almost their carts, their small shops, or the footpath business which they have been trade which they have been doing, all that a portion of that has been destroyed, and they are not able to move out. Even the demolition where it is not complete or it has been stopped in between because of the court intervention and the struggle that was conducted there, and people are not able to move and work. And this has happened in different parts of the country wherever these types of attacks have happened. And in the name of new buildings, new roads, etc., wherever the evictions have taken place, it is mainly the informal sector or the small factory workers who are affected, and the impact on their livelihood, the future of their children, their life is in danger. And we can easily understand that what will be the impact in the coming days or the future of those families who are there, and not only those families and those who are related to those families in the social life and other related areas. This can be easily understood.
Thank you, Commissioner. Can we move to the next question?
Yeah.
So the next question is by Neeraja. Workers who lose their job tend to stop searching for jobs altogether and withdraw from the labor market. Do you think that the lack of domestic employment opportunities breeds the ground for fascistic tendencies?
See, this question has two sides. One is that yes, stopping the search for job, yes, on record. The labor participation factor, all the details CMI is giving, where others are giving, all that is there. But he or she has to have something to eat. And so naturally, when the unemployment increases or loss, not only new people, new youngsters who are in search of job, a huge number are losing their existing jobs and are coming to the street. When they don't find a job, yes, all these statistics say that they are not in the labor market. But where do they go? And this is a situation where these fascistic communal forces make use of. See, today morning I was reading in a national daily that those who were arrested, all of them, five, six of them, one after another, they are saying he is an unemployed youth or he was working in a small business like that. And so this is an opportunity for those mobilizing those sections. those who are unemployed and those who are suffering, they are being given some money or some other guarantees. Even if you are caught by police, you will be released like that. All these guarantees, and they become tools in the hands of. They are not. Many of them are not people who are convinced by the ideology. They are being taken away, and this is being utilized. And this unemployment and the sufferings that they face are being utilized by the forces to mobilize these into anti-social activities. This is the situation. So both the parts of the same question raised by our friend has this. Yes, that is a fact. And this is helping them mobilizing these youths in doing that. And we have seen from the Gujarat days how some of them who came out and openly declared that what I have done was wrong to my colleagues. You will remember those comparable photographs that were there in circulation for a very long time. Now things are going worse than that. I think that's all I have to say on that.
Dr. Roy, if you would like to add to this.
I don't have, as Comrade AKP has already mentioned, that this is the way the mobilization of youth and younger people has often been done by fascist forces in different parts of the world. So, one is labor force participation rate is declining. See, what is interesting in today's labor market is that you will find that the unemployment rate is declining. In the recent data, you will find that unemployment rate has declined. But at the same time, the proportion of employed people within the working age population, that has shown a sharp decline. People who are seeking for jobs within the working age population, that has also shown a sharp decline. So people have younger people and those who are, as Comrade AKP has mentioned, that the unemployment level is not limited to only the young. In the recent period, particularly after the pandemic, you will, of course, the unemployment rate is much higher during the age group of 22 to 35. So that is the age group which is the facing the most, the higher rate of unemployment. And also educated youth, there the rate of employment is much higher. So once you see that there is no possibility of employment, so you lose hope and basically you are not seeking for work. So the proportion of discouraged workers within the working age population is on the rise. And of course, the easiest way to channel this discontent or displace this discontent is to mobilize them on communal lines. So one can say that just because you are not getting job because there are too many other people of other religion, they are grabbing jobs, and or you build up a kind of a culture that this country is only for people for a particular region. So anyone, any religion, so anyone who does not belong to this religion, they should not get any opportunity in this country. So when there is a contraction of opportunities, the ruling class would always try to create a fight between the working people for the limited opportunities. And fascism is a political manifestation of this.
Thank you. Can we have the next question? The next question is by Ahalya. She asks, the labor codes propose to fill in the social security void for workers in the gig and platform economy. How promising are these reforms, particularly when there is no scope to allow for unionization in such work setups?
See, that's a very good question. Understanding what the government is campaigning. Universalization of social security is the way they present it. But actually, the situation is what are all the existing benefits under the present social security to those who are available? What has happened to the pension scheme of the government employees, central government and state government employees from 2004? and what is happening in the name of social security already existing for the workers under the Employee Provident Fund, or the medical benefits under employees state insurance scheme ESI, and now they say that even including gig workers and others will be given social security. And that's, what actually is the situation? That question itself says that. How can we believe that? That is the essence of it. Because when you are not allowed to be unionized, when the right to form a union of their choice is not available to any section of workers, and when the government is declaring limitations to unionization even in the organized sector, how do you expect the sections like the gig workers who are based on this the new system to get their benefits, and how will they be guaranteed of getting that, and how long they will be working? Will they be working? Will they be, anyone will be able to work for more than 5 years? The way our youngsters are riding on the street, the so-called gig workers or those who are working, and how they will exist and how they will be able to do their job after about 5 or 6 years, or at least when they reach even 30, will they be able to work? And what will be the social security scheme that will be available to them? All these questions remain unanswered, my dear friends. And so, and when once you don't have the right to organize, once you don't have the right to collective bargaining, and the right to collective bargaining is linked to the right to strike, and when there is in a country where there is no tripartism or bipartisan or collective bargaining, and there is no enforcement machinery in the country, and the existing enforcement officers are not allowed to enter the factories and go for inspection, all these, that the new benefits will be there, new sections will be benefited, there will be universal social security. Yes, universal social security is a demand of the trade union movement. But what the government is now saying, none who has an experience about this government and no worker who is already working will believe that. And naturally, those who are the new workers, they will have to be beware this false campaign by the government. Yes, we have to get together, we have to mobilize. Even if the government does not agree unionization, we have to have unionization and mobilize, unionize, and fight for our rights. That should be the demand, and that is what is going to happen also. That's all I have to say about
And Dr. Roy?
I want to add one point that what has already been mentioned, that see, uh, if the government says that there should be universal social security, fine. But there is another point here, that it is what, apart from the execution and the way it will be actually distributed to different segments of workers, because in case of gig workers you will find that the problem is that most of these employers across the world, what they're doing is that you designate them as partners. So the drivers of Ola or Uber, they are considered as partners. So you, the nomenclature does not allow them to be considered as workers, and so you can avoid the trade union rules by which you can increase your exploitation. But that didn't stop the workers to get mobilized. See, unionization was nothing, was not a gift of the constitution or the capitalist class, that this is a tool that has been given to the workers, that these on the basis of which you organize. It is the organization of the workers, the mobilization of the workers, that give rise to unions, and that gives rise to the demands which are specific regulations for the particular sector. It is the other way around. So even if the workers are not allowed to unionize, of course workers should fight for their rights and they would get unionized, and that has to be recognized in the future, today or tomorrow. But the other point which I want to mention is this, that now the discourse is gradually shifting in a different direction. It is as if that the worker, the denial of the rights is nothing wrong. So you should not be given any right or agency. You would not be, the existing institutions which are protective of workers' rights should be dismantled. There is nothing wrong in that. In exchange of that, what I'm giving to you is an universal social security. So that is the politics which is emerging. And throughout the world also, this is a a form of neo-populism where the government should be giving certain social security and certain roles or something, some transfers of income to the working people. But the issue would remain that this is fine, but that doesn't replace the right of the workers as workers. So if universal social security is given, which Comrade AKP has already mentioned that that is not going to happen. Actually, it is basically telling lies. So even if it happens, that does not replace the right of the workers, the voice of the workers in the workplace as well as for the society as a whole.
Thank you, Dr. Zahid. You have further explained that question, and thank you for that.
Thank
Uh, the next question is by Sharang. Do you think greater formalization of the economy will make it easier to unionize working class people and fight for the rights? Would it be easier than to use the state as a means to enact this?
No, the last part of it.
Would it be easier then to use the state as a means to enact this, the formalization of economy?
No, 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 no. See, yes, formalization of employment, formalization of labor will be an improvement in one sense. But what is now happening is informalization of the already formalized sections in the country. See, when I was in a factory, that was in the 60s, I was there only up to 70s, early 70s. At that time, including the canteen workers, they were part of the employment of the establishment. Maximum, a very few, which can be counted, where there some contract system or which was known at that time as a casual worker. Now, what is the situation? As I told you, whether it is a public sector enterprise or a private sector, multinational corporation or Indian corporates, 75% of the establishments are informal workers, those who are not considered as workers. Various ways of exploitation has been found out. Contract, casual, outsourced, fixed term employment, specialization, trade improver, apprentice, trainee, etc., etc. Those who do not come under any scheme, any formal worker status, and those who don't have benefits. And the crores of workers, as I told you, those who are working under schemes, they are there. So, increased formalization is only a campaign material, nothing more than that. That is why even the statutory benefits which are there, that is the point that is generally used to attack the trade unions. These trade unions are working only for the organized sector. That itself is a lie. It's an utter lie, because see, even take my organization, 70% or 65, more than 65% of the members are from the informal section, unorganized sector and scheme workers, etc., etc., not from the formal sector. And so, increased formalization, that is the campaign that is going on, or what you read in the newspapers or the publicity material of the government, has nothing to do with the reality. That's all I have to say. I think you will be able to understand it fully. I don't know whether Dr. Satyaki has to add anything to this. So,
See, I would add one thing that the question, it is a very interesting question. It assumes that the formalization is declared by the government, and so there are informal sectors and there are formal sectors, and as if these informal sectors can be declared within the formal segment, then the problem whether it will be solved or not. Now, I first of all say that this formal informal distinction that we make, if you just think But what do we mean by formal? Is it just registration? Because the way the government is trying to dilute this whole notion of formalization, it has been reduced to as if registering workers in some books of accounts or some books of the government is basically formalization. So if you are getting a card to for health or getting something relief from the government using that card, you belong to a formal sector. That's the way it is now being projected. My point is, when we talk about formal, what comes in our mind? What comes in our mind are certain rights which are being established and legalized. But these rights were not given, as I said in the previous question, these were not gifted by the government. All workers were actually informal earlier, in the sense there were no rights. It is the workers' struggle that established those rights which were being accommodated and accepted. They're forced to accept those rights. They become formalized through this struggle. The point is that now there is another move which is in the opposite direction, where the capitalist class and the state is once again informalizing the formal sectors in the sense that they're dismantling all the protective institutions and a deregulation is happening. So the struggle once again to establish those rights can only increase the process of formalization. It can't be on the basis of declaration of the government that the government would declare that you have to abide by these rights. Because now capitalism basically depends upon cheap labor. So cheapening of the labor is the agenda. The state, which basically tries to deregulate the labor market and is establish this labor codes, is basically a process of cheapening of this labor. So just registering workers to me does not mean formalization, and neither the government is actually moving towards that. And I don't believe that it is only it is I do believe that it is only through struggles of workers that you can re-establish these rights which the capitalist class or the state would accept beyond a point.
Thank you. So we have two more questions that we will take for want of time. Can we have the next question? Meera asks, presently there is no precarity in employment relations, which means weaker collective bargaining. In this scenario, how do you look at the future of labor movement in India? What new strategies can be employed?
Please repeat that question, the first part.
Presently, there is more precarity in the employment relations, which means weaker collective bargaining. In this scenario, how do you look at the future labor movement in India? What new strategies can be employed?
See, actually, the first part of the question has been answered by Dr. Satyaki in the previous question. That is the situation. More precarious situation in employment and employment relations do exist, and workers are bound to fight against it. In that, more united movement, united struggles against the policies which create this situation, which is the basic reason for the situation, make the people understand that and the sustained struggle to change that. The new strategy, there is nothing new as far as the trade unions are concerned, because the trade union from the day one relies upon the unity of the class and struggle. That is the situation. The 100 years of Indian trade union movement, or more than 200 years of the European trade union movement, or wherever they are, the worker, they are few and we are many, as I told you. And this many has to get mobilized, get unionized, get on the struggle, and go on sustained movement, and not only on the impact of the policies, but against the policies themselves. And the new strategy will be fight all the forces which disrupts this unity and get the unity strengthened and move towards intensifying the class struggle. And for that, this is simply said, very easily said, but there are very many hurdles in achieving that. That has to be understood, and all the bridges have to be crossed whenever we reach the. That is the answer I will have to give, and I think more can be said by Dr. Satyaki on.
This question, I do not have anything to add because you are in the best position to say how the workers are actually organizing themselves. So I have nothing to add in.
Thank you.
Can we have the
Thank you.
last? Can we have the last question?
Yes. Yes.
Zeba asks, recently there has been policy intervention for regulating working conditions of domestic workers. Given the multidimensional nature of this issue, how does the labor movement in India evaluate the potential of this agenda?
Yes, the question itself raises certain difficulties or the multi-dimensional aspects of the domestic workers. Internationally, this has been taken up, and there is a convention that was there. I think in 2011, the International Labour Organization has adopted a convention. And in India also, yes, we say we have ratified it, but how far things are there, we don't know, except in a few states. Some welfare measures are announced, and those who are registered in a welfare board or something, they are giving some benefits. Other than that, other statutory benefits as for the other sections of informal or unorganized sector workers, that is the situation for the domestic workers. Yes, there are multi-dimensional aspects because it is not a employer. The domestic workers work for the families of some workers or some other people who are not corporates or who are not like that. They are also workers, and so the relation there and the issues, multidimensional issues are there. Efforts have been made, and we have made a good beginning in various major centers, including in Maharashtra or in Karnataka or in parts of Tamil Nadu or in other states also. As far as we are concerned, our organization and various other organizations are also there, and some independent organizations or NGO type of organizations are also working among the domestic workers. It has got a multi-dimensional problem, and multi-dimensional issues are there, but efforts have to be made. It is part of the overall issue of this unorganized or informal section of workers, like that. That issue is there, and yes, we have to get rid of these issues. Actually, we have to empower them in such a way that they are also able to sustain, and those who are employing them or their services have to be made to understand the importance of giving them these benefits. And the government also should be forced to do that. Certain benefits and welfare activities, welfare measures for these type of workers. That is the issue as it is today. It's only a small beginning has been made.
Uh, Dr. Roy, do you want to add?
No, I don't have to add.
Yes.
So I think we should now move on to the last part of the session, that is Comrade Fatima.
Yes, the questions are almost end.
So on behalf of Progressive Students Forum, Tata Institute of Social Science, I, Bhavya Sudhir, would like to take the opportunity to thank our guests in the panel, Comrade AKP and Dr. Satyaki Roy, for their enriching insights on the topic and also the question asked by the audience. We would also like to thank everyone who have made time to be with us during the lecture and to view this lecture through Facebook and YouTube Live. Uh, Progressive Students Forum have been conducting many lectures, and the same can be accessed through our social media handles, uh, that is through Facebook and YouTube. Finally, I would like to extend our revolutionary greetings for the May Day. Uh, Today, reiterate our resolve to fight against dismantling of labor rights, unemployment, and privatization of public assets. Uh, Thank you, everybody. I think that would be all for today.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks a lot.